Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Salem. And tonight we're continuing our question from Elphaba, who asked me to describe the contents of our different lesson books. Tonight we're going to talk about Third Degree. And of course the Third Degree book is the one that has the most complex ideas in it because it is really the book that talks about the whichness of the why. What do I mean by that? I mean the basic workings of the universe, the nature of reality, and the soul in deeper terms. In writing the Third Degree, I returned in many ways to a simpler style, a more accessible style, because the ideas themselves are very difficult to grasp. And one of the things that I talk about in the Third Degree is that when I myself was first presented with much of this material, it really was very hard to understand. But the priestess who was training me, Lady Crystal, basically said to me, well, you know, why don't we set this aside for now and we'll come back to it later. And several months later we came back to the very same material without ever having discussed it, and it made a lot more sense because it had sunk in spiritually in the meantime. Some of the subjects that we talk about in the Third Degree material include standards and behavior, which has a lot to do with how to interact with other groups and with the outside world. Appearance and presentation, which kind of continues that same theme. And it really has to do, well, you know, it's a little bit along the theme of how to win friends and influence people. People in our community often do not stop to consider the effect of the way that they behave, the way that they appear. And all of these things do have an effect, and particularly for the Third Degree, who are the High Priesthood, this can sometimes be very important. And the way that you present yourself can influence how people view your entire temple, your entire tradition, particularly at the Third Degree. Astral travel and shape-shifting, which talks about basically sending the soul forth from the body, or rather a portion of the soul, and what can be done through this. Lesson 4, remote viewing, working, and communication. Communicating over large distances, reading over large distances. Remote viewing is seeing things that are far away from you. Basically, the applications of clairvoyance. Lesson 5, the nature of the soul. And we talk in much deeper detail about the soul and its character than we have in the previous two books. Lesson 6, the nature of time. We talk about time, and you know, we talked a little bit about time magic in the vlog. Here we talk about it in some detail. Lesson 7, the Ennead, which basically discusses the idea of the monad in certainly more detail than we've talked about it in other writings. Lesson 8, karmic disentanglement, soul retrieval, and akasha. And this really is one of the most important lessons, in my opinion, for personal development, because it really talks about how to deal with your karma, how to deal with personal transformation from a multi-life point of view. Lesson 9, spirit messaging and drawing down the moon. How to bring through messages from spirit, how to talk to the ancestors, etc. Lesson 10, conscious incarnation. And conscious incarnation is one of the deeper subjects. Again, the whole book really is about the deeper subjects. And conscious incarnation is the idea of continuing projects from one life to the next and picking up where you left off. Lesson 11, problems and solutions in group working and temple management. There are a lot of problems, but luckily a lot of solutions. And if you're going to be running a group, I think that's a very important chapter, a very important issue. And Lesson 12, where do we go from here? Which talks a lot about what we would like to see in the future of the Wicca movement. So that's basically what you'd find in our Third Degree book. Obviously, that only barely touches on the content, but it does speak to some extent about the different subjects. And in putting together the Third Degree book, again, I tried to make it as accessible as possible because the material itself can be rather daunting. Things such as the nature of the soul, the nature of time, these are not easy subjects. And so I tried to present it as easily as possible. So that is the overview of the Third Degree book, and until next time, may you blessed be.
Hi, I'm Terry the Stone Lady. For all your crystal and stone needs, come to witchschoolstore.com.